Hello. I wanted this to be a very magician-y sort of ceremonial Reiki session. I did a tarot reading beforehand to sort of look for themes to talk about. The main ones, other than the fact that I started with wanting there to be a purple blue color theme, a sort of color therapy with gemstones. When I did the tarot reading though, it said that, or the themes that it spoke to, if you'd prefer that wording, were luxury and royalty, which is in keeping with the purple energy, but with the Three of Wands, somewhat of a Renaissance man or like court energy, like you're not royal in such an isolated sense, and even if you are isolated, perhaps you're still a bit of a creatrix, like a Ren man. But then also a sort of sage acuity and wit, in keeping with the magician energy. I brought tools very reminiscent of the magician card. And the deck I used, I got it from an antique store. It was used at a real casino, and it says like the date and time. This one was 2010. There's even a spider making a spider web by my makeshift altar, like she really likes it or something. But this is an apple spice incense. I hope it helps you feel more luxurious and tap into how you could have greater self-sovereignty in your day-to-day existence, which part of that is about feeling enough zest too. Some of self-sovereignty is a feeling, but other parts are easier to discuss. The spider is on a real venture. Feeling like you have know-how and ability to move in the world is part of it, depending on industry especially. I'm fine. But there's also just generally feeling luxurious. Like you have the things that you'd like to have, maybe, but you spend your days doing what you feel you would do even if you were royal. Even if perhaps like expensive events are out of your reach. But then also beckoning in more money, luxury at this current economic point in time. Money can get us some luxuries quite nicely. Even little things can be luxurious. But there's the idea of like going to the ocean, which is desirable, I think, to humans, but not all humans enjoy swimming in the ocean, or the ocean either. To some it's just scary. The blue stones I brought, though, I think tap into some of that sage acuity. I have a blue angel aura quartz, which for angelologists would correspond with Michael. Blue is his color. I generally brought it for the blue colorings, but with notes of that as well, it is quite helpful. If you follow my channel, especially given the evil business schema discussed in my previous 2 videos. Ants. This is why we think spiders, because ants crawl on us. Regardless, they can be vicious. It depends on the species of spider. But I also have blue calcite, which is a very calming, sort of dreamy, but like tapped into intuition more so than dreaminess. So it's still like clever in a way that people worry about. Like, if you're dreamy, are you thinking hard about like the hard facts, or are you being more romantic? And you can do both. Maybe there's a way with luxury. I have another blue stone for the sage acuity and wit portion, but I'll come back to it later. Because I do have amethyst, which is good for that dreamy introspective side, but also clear thinking. So there's a way you can be dreamy and not have that magician's worry. Magician is a very thinking energy, even if it seems like a dreamy pursuit. Something about like a stigma against dreaminess too, but also something important to bring up. The ways that you can still have both energies present. This perpine, or perptine, something like that, is very chalky in a way that feels ancient to me. I'm going to come back to it later. For the time being, a general heart clearing. Since this one is somewhat magenta, I brought it with the purple theme. My heartstone. A strange pink agate kind of thing. I hope you enjoy it. I'll be keeping it. No worries. I've got another one. This one is like a magenta agate, and it has some swirls in it, but that same kind of artery texture going on the front of this one, at least. On the back it looks like speckled continents, or like a hooded lady. It's darker. I think the allergy season is getting to me. I feel the fluffies on my nose heavily. So don't mind if I scratch my nose a lot for the rest of this. Luna Lovegood would say it's whatever those things are that she says are around Harry with the glasses on in the 6th movie. Regardless, let's zap some of that like divine consciousness into you. Whoa, not like that. If you're into the sun as a ominous thing, I was just trying to stretch my back. Or not ominous, but benevolent. I feel a need to return to some of the sageness now. So I think I'll have both of my amethysts. On one hand, the left hand, and the blue apatite in the right hand, which connects to manifestation across time. So you're able to interact with it in your more dreamy side, since it is ASMR. When I'm doing the Reiki, the right hand path, it's envisioned as a channel. If you follow my vision, it'll go forth as is in line with the Sephiroth. So put your manifestations forth, especially when it comes to the themes of today's video. That sageness plus that luxury, that royalty, that sovereign essence of your being that makes life more enjoyable to live and feel more cozy. Like, aren't I here to do something today? Something fun, maybe. And hopefully, like, drawing in more money with that hermetic energy, with Hermes and the Magician card and all. Speaking of the Magician energy, for my tools, I have fire represented in a teensy tea light candle on a quite protected silver plate configuration that I have. I have air with my incense and Palo Santo. Following all the Chinese elements, I have metal in my silver plate and rings, earth in my gemstones, and a little gemstone serpentine that looks so much like the grass. I like to think it enjoys the grass. There to sort of connect to the elements, the environment. This level of detail is not always necessary, but it can be quite helpful and fun to sort of like focus energies in a unique way. But I have wood in the form of my wand and the will and Thalamic magic that I enjoy. Also some earth in my herbs that I sprinkled beforehand. I might use more during. The cards are that I use beforehand, kind of an air thing to do. And I have water, which I sprinkled forth beforehand, onto my hands, and I drank some and whatnot, which my phone is propped up on. In glass. Glass isn't included as an element, nor cloth, usually. But both of these are involved. And sequins on the bag that I'm using to prop up my water bottle, which props up my phone. If you want to include sequins as a new element, that could be quite fun.
That was a really cool moth for butterfly. It was like black and purple. You see that?
Wood corresponds with paper, but my altar book, I call it an altar because of the green and gold cloth. Polemic magic. I'm just telling you about the level of detail I went to aesthetically with tools and hermetically with metaphysics for this session for your luxury and acuity. That's all. But I have a cloth bag that I brought the gems in. That's also satin, if you want another element that could be fun. Satin/silk. I like it. Cloth could be the gender neutral element or something. Just proposing ideas and stretching. But how about we channel some like joyful, like a babbling brook of like a sassy little magna pipe, almost like a real game changer for you. I'm talking about with tectonic plates, like the earth is moving in your favor, but a real sassy, like teensy babbling brook that helps you out is what this magenta agate reminds me of, because magenta, magma, and magnets remind me so much of like similar wordings. That also reminds me of like shifting matters and magic that could be in your favor or could be ominous. Since volcanic eruptions are obviously something that people back in the day might have viewed as ominous. Or just known, but maybe also ominous. It's not a good sign for your community if lava is coming its way. Nor a good sign for the weather maybe to come, unless it just happens to be like winter is harder. But it can get weird. That it could go too far. Create weirder weather patterns. There's some red wine jasper, also purple. Like a playful luxury, enjoying yourself. Sorry to bring up the word luxury so many times. I'll move to the word purple for this next portion, since we know it to be associated with royalty, purple energy. But it won't be so strict. Red wine jasper. How fun. What a stone. It's kind of reddish, kind of purplish. This is very rambly, the video. I hope you haven't minded too much. And then sort of a feminine accompaniment to a Dionysian sort of vibe. This stone also feels sort of Dionysian to me. It's purpine or purptine. But it most of all feels like a celebratory, fashionable, but grounded and down to earth stone. And this muakkite, I think, because of the mu, it reminds me of Hathor, but also the color. And Hathor is a goddess of dance and music, among other things. Also like the moon, fertility, so creativity as well I associate with fertility gods, which connects to that. I brought up a Ren Man sort of energy. Hopefully this one is helpful, but it feels less relevant. And like maybe this sort of seeking stone and the blue calcite. But someone who has like hobbies that are something that could be passed down for a longer period of time, like hobbies in art or like inventions, things that you work on that people might partake in, even like if you made video games on your own. That kind of energy is something that is so fun for like a sense of luxury in your own lifestyle. Like even if you're just a private artist, for example, it can be fun to sort of build that sense of self up in adulthood. Like there's an industriousness in teenagehood, but in adulthood there's room for specialization, much like in college, that sometimes go unnoticed and sometimes go noticed. Ways that life could be like more bartering heavy sort of connect to that theme. Just because you could like work on little projects and barter them with adults, even like art for art or something like that. Other kinds of exchanges for little projects that you work on could be quite cool as a lifestyle to sort of work towards the thoughts of legacy that come later in life. Writing would be included, or even like mind-body holism is a good pursuit to have outside of Ren Man things that's included in luxury. Like having practices like yoga or hiking or swimming, things like that, can be quite conducive, especially if you have time to spend just sitting in the pool, or like swimming in the ocean is nice, but like if you have time to just sort of chill in the pool and like do like little exercises, that's so much fun. That sounds like an old person, but also Tai Chi, those kinds of commitment to being in a magician sense also are conducive to a sense of luxury, like hiking and walking, those things as well. There's also lifting, which can be helpful if you want to tone yourself for something, like a certain athletic pursuit that you're doing, or just for like greater amounts of like humdrum repetition life like that, like resistance training, how that's recommended. That's another important pursuit of life alongside luxury, and there can be time for one and time for another, but there can also be time for both in lifestyle. These are both amethyst, but one is much more clouded than the other. It looks more like candy, like a gummy. I should show off the gems more, but I'm hoping that their color auras benefit you as well. So it's already a distance healing or ASMR or something more of interest. This one, I hope I'm going to keep these in my hand during the amethyst, but I hope this one they're done. Benefits you as well. It is so pretty to me. It has these little flecks. It reminds me of a flower. Flowers, so pretty. I brought one with me. If elements were Pokemon, blast. Blast. I don't know where my flower went. Blast. There is one in the field that I could get though. So I thought. Also purple. But it's so pretty, like a flower. It reminds me of almost like an orchid. If the elements were Pokemon, I think flowers would be like the silk earth hybrid. Just food for thought. This I'll use to just like brush on your aura. Some nice silken energy, I suppose. There's a butterfly on the water bottle, glass and water. I think a certain amount of attention to the elements can evoke a level of synesthesia, which is really nice. So if you ever want to evoke it in your life, you could try out seeing if that works for you. It's similar to ASMR, the feeling. Sort of reminiscent of magic. Smoke I count as air because other than smoke, it's hard to capture it. Other than like storms of lightning proportion, wind, smoke, like vapors that you smoke in, or the notion of ideas or swords. I didn't bring a sword, but I did bring a wand. And wands are quite similar to swords, but they remind me of fingers as well. These instrument tools that you use for magic. And wood, I enjoy as an element idea. Something sturdy, this wand is. And for your inner child or inner magician, I highly recommend getting a wand. You never know how you may use it. If you don't have much money, you could go to Party City or Spirit Halloween, it's open now, and get one of those toy wands. That is possible. Or you could find a stick in the forest even that is of suitable wand sizing and use that. Otherwise, if you're feeling particularly luxurious, like I was as a child, you could get a wand made on a Harry Potter website. But try it out and maybe life will feel a little more magical. Or you could try just incorporating more ideas of the elements if you're not as big a fan of color theory with magic. And see if incorporating elements evokes synesthesia, which is a theory of mine. That it can, at least. You're not obligated to, though. Let me do a little incision real quick. Pull out the last of your gunk. Seal it up. Put a little band-aid on it. Brush you off some more. And because we've finished our little psychic surgery to get you feeling a little better, almost like it's a doctor role play at the end, I brought honey agate. Here you go. And a Haribo gummy swish. A little squish. I hope you feel better. Let me give you one last smoke bath. Just to make sure everything's well. For realsies. I will have another video to come though. That's a sort of Zen spa gemstone focused one. And just to show off the other elements, I guess gummy. Gummy is a fun element. I want gummy to be a gender neutral element. I have this bag, the satin. The sequins. My phone stayed up. On the other side, there's Betty Boop. Here's the flower again. You can take it with you. Goodbye. Stay luxurious. Stay woke.